Imagine this for a moment. You take a pill before bed because your doctor told you it would help. Maybe it calms your nerves, helps you sleep, reduces your blood pressure, lowers your cholesterol, or keeps your heart safe during the night. But what if I told you that millions of Americans are taking medications at night that are now being linked to an increased risk of long-term disability, a connection that many people are only just beginning to understand? The truth is, modern medicine often comes with a trade-off. The benefits are clear, the relief is real, but the risks are hidden in plain sight. And this is exactly why so many people who believe they're protecting their health may actually be putting themselves in danger without even realizing it. Studies are beginning to show that the timing of when you take your medication could drastically affect how your body processes it, how your organs react to it, and ultimately whether it helps you or harms you. And this revelation is sending shockwaves through the medical community and everyday households across the country. Think about it. Millions of prescriptions are written every year, and many of them are meant for conditions that are long-term and require consistent daily use. Pills for blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, depression, anxiety, heart conditions, and sleep disorders are among the most commonly prescribed. And because of habit or doctor's advice, a huge number of patients take them at night, right before going to sleep. But researchers are now asking whether this nightly routine might actually be contributing to long-term risks like reduced mobility, cognitive decline, nerve damage, and other forms of disability. The shocking part is that most patients never even hear about these possibilities when they're first handed their prescriptions. They're told about side effects like dizziness, nausea, or fatigue, but not about the possibility that years down the line, their reliance on these medications could make them more dependent on others for basic daily living. The science behind this starts with how the body's internal clock, known as the circadian rhythm, interacts with medicine. Every organ, every cell, and every hormone in your body operates on a time-based cycle, meaning that your heart, liver, kidneys, and even your brain respond differently depending on the time of day. Taking medication at night when your body is winding down and your metabolism slows can cause certain drugs to accumulate in ways that weren't intended. Instead of being metabolized and flushed out efficiently, they may linger, creating higher concentrations in your blood, putting strain on your kidneys and liver, or altering your brain chemistry more dramatically than expected. Over time, this repeated stress builds up, increasing the likelihood of long-term health issues, the kind that can slowly rob you of your independence and force you into situations where you need support for everyday tasks. To make this even more concerning, not all medications react the same way. For example, blood pressure drugs are among the most common medications taken at night, often because doctors once believed nighttime dosing prevented dangerous spikes during sleep. But new evidence suggests that for some people, taking these drugs at night instead of during the day can disrupt natural nighttime blood pressure patterns, causing dips that are too low, which may reduce blood flow to critical organs and the brain. This lack of adequate nighttime circulation has been associated with a higher risk of cognitive decline, mini-strokes, and even the development of conditions like dementia. Similarly, cholesterol medications, especially statins, are often prescribed to be taken at night because cholesterol production is highest during sleep. But prolonged nightly use may stress the liver when it's already working hard overnight, potentially leading to damage that is not immediately visible but becomes debilitating over years. Sleep medications, another massive category, may provide relief in the short term, but their long-term use at night is now being tied to memory loss, reduced motor skills, and a greater risk of falls and injuries, especially in older adults. Imagine someone in their 60s or 70s taking a sleeping pill every night for years, only to find themselves increasingly unsteady on their feet, unable to focus, and more dependent on others. This is not an uncommon story, and it raises the question, are we sacrificing long-term independence for short-term comfort? Then there are antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, millions of which are taken nightly, which may cause chemical imbalances that the brain struggles to adapt to over time, leading not only to emotional side effects, but also to neurological issues that make independent living harder in the future. The bigger issue here is that so many patients are left in the dark. The average person taking these medications trusts their doctor and assumes the schedule is safe. But most physicians don't have the time to walk through every long-term risk, and in many cases, the research on timing hasn't been fully presented to them either. Pharmaceutical companies often test drugs under controlled conditions, but don't always study the impact of dosing schedules in real-world settings where people have varying lifestyles, diets, and sleep cycles. This gap in understanding leaves millions of people vulnerable, essentially turning them into unknowing participants in a long experiment where the consequences may not appear until decades later. So what does this mean for you or for someone you love who takes nightly medication? It doesn't mean you should stop your treatment on your own or ignore medical advice. But it does mean that being proactive and asking the right questions could make all the difference. It's becoming clear that we can no longer think of medicine as one size fits all, especially when it comes to the timing of doses. What works for one person at night might be better for another in the morning, and without personalized guidance, people are at risk of outcomes that could have been prevented. The scary reality is that something as simple as changing the time of day you take a pill could be the deciding factor in whether you live out your later years healthy and mobile or dependent and disabled. The human body is not a machine that operates the same way 24 hours a day. And the idea that we should all swallow pills at bedtime just because it's convenient no longer makes sense in light of emerging evidence. Researchers are now calling for a shift in how doctors prescribe, urging them to consider chronopharmacology, the science of how the timing of medication affects outcomes, more seriously. Some studies have already shown promising results, like morning dosing of certain blood pressure medications lowering the risk of nighttime hypotension, or daytime use of statins reducing liver strain. But these findings are not yet widespread, and until they are, patients need to be aware and willing to advocate for themselves. Imagine the potential impact of this knowledge. If millions of people shifted their medication timing safely under professional guidance, we could see a reduction in the rates of disability associated with long-term drug use. Fewer people might suffer falls, fewer might develop preventable cognitive decline, and fewer might face the devastating reality of losing their independence because of something that could have been avoided with a simple adjustment. It's a reminder that our health is not just about what we take, but how and when we take it. The warning here is not meant to scare you into quitting your medications, but to open your eyes to a conversation that's not happening enough. The link between nightly drug use and disability is not being broadcast widely, yet it has the potential to affect millions. If you or someone in your family takes pills at night, the first step is awareness. The second is to bring it up with a healthcare provider. Ask if the timing is right and if there may be safer alternatives. You might find that small changes today prevent major consequences tomorrow. In the end, the takeaway is clear. Medicine is powerful, but timing is just as important as dosage, and ignoring this reality could lead to long-term harm. By paying attention now, by asking questions, and by demanding more research and transparency, we can protect ourselves and future generations from preventable disability caused not by disease itself, but by the way we've been told to treat it.